On replay analysis. This time I am joined by, is it SpewnDonkey? Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah.
SpewnDonkey. And he sent in a Hindenburg replay and said he'd like some good quality feedback on it. So we're going to do our best to do just that. I've loaded up the replay and I paused it here with this particular angle because SpewnDonkey, I would like to know from your perspective, what is missing in your flag setup right now?
I don't know them by that word, so I can't tell you.
I've done replay so much, I've memorized all the flags. So this is a credit gain, Zulu.
Yeah.
This is your Zulu Hotel. This is Commander XP. This is Inky, Isso, Bisso, something like that. It's the one that enhances your repair party consumable.
Yeah.
And then you've got the one that's 10% reduction to post-battle cost. So you want to make more credits, you want to save credits, you want to make some Commander XP, and you want to heal more when you get shot at.
Yeah.
Essentially.
But I don't have fire or anything like that. So.
Bingo. Hindenburg is an HE spamming boat, so a fire chance flag, the two of them together, are fantastic on a ship like this. The other flag that you're really missing here is your anti-detonation flag, your Juliet Charlie.
On the Hindenburg? Okay. I mean, I run it on like DDs and I run it on the Massachusetts because that thing seems to explode every time I see a torpedo. But, okay.
So people who have watched my channel know that I have an expression, you always wear protection when you take a ship into battle. And that Juliet Charlie is that protection for you. I know you can get away without running it, and chances are you probably aren't going to detonate, but there's always that one time where you detonate early in the battle and just sit there saying, gee, I wish I had, Juliet Charlie. So consider that like a tax in the game, I guess, because you can buy those flags now for credits. So, this is a random battle. So random battle, you can get away with not running it. Ranked battles, clan battles especially, oh boy, gotta have that Juliet Charlie. If you don't want Juliet Charlie, but you still want reduced chances of detonation, there is a turret module in slot 1 that you can take that reduces your chances by 75%.
Yeah. Okay.
Your main guns will die quicker, or more often, but hey,
Yeah, I think the flag would be better.
Generally speaking, I agree. Absolutely. Let's see, you're running on the stock permanent camouflage for the Hindenburg, so that's 20% credit reduction as well. You get some credit gain, and of course there's the XP bonus too, so that's kind of sexy. Alright, how experienced are you with the Hindenburg?
I probably just got it like 2 months ago.
Okay, looks like you've got
Go ahead. Go ahead. No, I really only been playing the game probably 8 months.
Oh, wow.
I started for a while, quit, and then come back. I played a bunch of games, but I don't think I've grasped the things I need to grasp in order to advance.
Right. Well, I mean, what you just said tells me you got to tier 10 really freaking quickly. Like, you must have just picked
Way too quick.
Yeah. So you probably picked like what, 2 or 3 lines to just grind up?
Yeah, so when I started the game, I thought, okay, so you need a tier 10 ship to be able to play because they fire faster, yada, yada, yada. And I found out that was a huge mistake. Huge mistake.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Okay.
If I could do it over, I would take my time, but it's too late now.
You hear that, YouTube? If you're just starting this game, take it from SpewnDonkey. Take your time.
Yes.
That's one thing that I also tell people when they ask what to do if they're new. I say you play, you grind up every ship line together. Don't pick 1 or 2 and grind up quickly. Do all of them together because that forces you to take a lot of time at tier 3, a lot of time at tier 4, a lot of time at tier 5. Learn the basics and then work your way up.
And I just recently started expanding and playing like DDs and stuff like that. And I really see a whole different side of the game that I had no idea was there. So it was bad. And
that helps you in every part of the game. When you start learning to look at things from a destroyer perspective, battleship perspective, even a carrier perspective, it's very handy. All right, dude, we've been talking. It's 2 minutes into the game, and you've barely moved forward. You're at a quarter speed. Why are you moving so slowly?
Because every time I'm the first one to move forward, I get spotted, and focus fire and die. So this is like one of the things I really need help with. I don't really know what to do at the beginning of the battle, where to go, like positioning, like it's just fly by the seat of my pants.
All right, so let's talk about initial positioning then. The first thing is the Hindenburg is a ship that loves to be in the back, loves being shot at, but loves to be in the back because it can dodge and maneuver. In your current position right now, bow forward, you're not, and slow, you're not really going to be able to maneuver that much. You want to be moving full speed, 3/4, whatever, and generally speaking, you want to begin the engagement sideways. Because if you begin the engagement showing broadside, by the time the enemy battleships have shot back at you, you've already started dodging, right? You started turning the rudder one way or the other. So, generally speaking, I would begin by heading due west. I would get to C1, and the other added benefit of doing that is that you've got the rear turrets available as well to help you out. Okay. Now, you've got 203 millimeter guns, and the German specialty is that the HE shells will penetrate 1/4, 25% of their caliber in armor, which means that you will penetrate 51 millimeters. Well, that's a lot of penetration. 51 millimeters of armor. Why is that important? Because you will penetrate the Moskva, you will penetrate the Bismarck, you'll penetrate the North Carolina, and you'll penetrate the Iowa. And, of course, the Minotaur, Akizuki, Kagero, too. In other words, you can be lazy as all hell and just sit back and spam HE, and you don't give two craps about who's going to shoot back at you. I like that you're picking the Moskva here. He is definitely a good target. You could try an EP salvo, but he's probably just going to sit there, so HE is perfectly fine. If I were you, I'd be turning... well, you don't want to show broadside to all those battleships, so I would slow down here and stick the bow in. But you could do this too.
That was kind of a variation for me of what you said about starting out broadside, but I did it all wrong. I've heard that before, but I never really pulled it off. So.
Yep. Now here, I would hit the brakes right here in your current position, right here. Hit the brakes, and start targeting the Iowa. Because by targeting the Iowa, you are staying angled to the Moskva. He can't do really much against you except set fires and maybe pen your superstructure. You're pretty steeply angled to the Bismarck, so again, same situation there. And if the Iowa shoots at you, well, you can just start dodging because you see him shooting at you. So that takes a lot of thinking out of your mind.
I think I actually kept turning, though.
You do, looks like.
Yep.
Also, don't be afraid to use your spotter plane because that gives you a little bit of extra range. So you could also do that. Okay, good. You are stopping here, and you are now focusing the Iowa. Good. Bismarck is low, but you know what? I mean, you're probably not going to be able to get him down here.
He actually runs into an island.
Yeah, your Montana did a nice job of showing broadside to everybody, and he's taking a pounding for it, but oh well. If he didn't, he might have taken some destroyer torpedoes, so it's just as well. Okay, no reason to move forward here. Keep reversing. Because a Hindenburg is a ship where you really are not afraid of anybody at this point. Maybe a Yamato, maybe a Shikishima is what you're afraid of, but for the most part, everybody else is just farm. The Hindenburg is one of my favorite ships in this game because I always describe it as easy, mindless fun. You literally sit there, hold down left mouse button, and then just wiggle your butt around whenever you're shot at. It looks to me like you're running main battery mod 3 for the increased reload.
Yeah, and maybe I switched between it and range because some ships are so far away now.
Yep. So...
and I can't decide which is best.
It ultimately comes down to what your experience is. Alright, good, you're going to kill this guy. Because like you said, he beached, so sure, why not? So, if you find yourself dying an awful lot to battleship fire, especially early in the engagements in the battle, then personally I would run the range module, because that gives you the flexibility of being farther away, more time for shells that are fired at you to hit you, which gives you more time to dodge and all that kind of good stuff.
Okay.
Keep shooting. Yep, keep shooting the Moskva here. You've got this very convenient Hindenburg-sized gap, actually bigger than that. Forget the Minotaur. Moskva is, well, not now, he's gone, but he was wide open for you. So he's a better target for you right now, especially because he's sitting still. So you don't really, you know, you're just going to chew up his 50mm armor. Doesn't matter. Keep reversing here. Did you get the destroyer? Yeah, okay, that destroyer is dead, so it's just the Akizuki to deal with. Aki ran into Shimakaze. That's unfortunate for your Shimakaze, but there's not much you can do about him right now. Minotaur's turning away from you, so Minotaur is not a big deal. I wouldn't worry about him. Again, I keep focusing this Moskva that's sitting here. The Moskva is a big threat to your destroyers. And really your battleships aren't going to be able to pen him anyway if they're firing AP at him, so.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Now I say that, and somebody just smacked him hard, and I'm going to guess that's the Musashi that smacked him. It could be the Kansas, but that's a Kansas, so I'm going to say it's the Musashi.
Yeah, I guess at the time I really didn't see the Moskva as the bigger threat than the Minotaur. Looking at it the way you're looking at it now, I was hoping to see that a little bit different.
Yeah, because the Minotaur's running away. If the Minotaur was at Moskva range, maybe I could see him being a bigger threat. But he's just sitting there, and he's just doing everything he can to farm at this point while he runs away. So he's not a threat. I would keep, okay, so here I would keep backing up and start getting all your guns on the Iowa, because that allows you to stay angled to the North Carolina whenever he decides to come out and, you know, get shot at. Also keep an eye on the minimap. The Hindenburg was last seen possibly making a run up the channel. Montana's going down the channel. That's the guy that panicked and showed broadside earlier. So he might very well run into the Montana.
I think that's one of my bigger problems too, is the minimap. I've started really looking at it, but sometimes when there's a bunch of ships around, I'm focused on them and I forget the minimap, and
so
I don't know how to break that habit.
When this video comes out, things that you could do is look at my eyes and how many times I'm looking like this. When I'm looking like this, I'm looking at the minimap. Generally speaking, I check the minimap in between every salvo that I fire. Now, cruiser guns are a little bit different. I might check it every few, you know, but like if it's a battleship, I check every time I fire my guns. If it's a destroyer, I check every time I fire my torpedoes, because I want to know what's going on. The Hindenburg has killed the Montana, which means he's going to come up on the rear. That's not really a threat to you, but you should be prepared to kind of deal with it. Forget the North Carolina. He's at 661. He's under fire from at least 2 ships. He'll die. And there he goes. Minotaur's coming back in. I would definitely train my guns on the Minotaur. Now, I noticed that your captain build has priority target and incoming fire alert. Personally, I would pick one of those two. And between the two of them, I'd probably pick priority target. But it comes down to what you're most comfortable with.
Yeah, I would like to get away from incoming fire alert, but I'm not to the point where I know every ship is shooting at me, so that's why I choose it. It's
handy to have. I would say that it would be better if the incoming fire alert told you which direction the fire was coming from, because all you know is that somebody's shooting at you. Now, with priority target, if you've got 5 people targeting you, then you know it's time to probably go defensive and not worry about getting your guns in, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, whereas incoming fire alert just basically says you're about to get screwed. You just don't know by how many people. So, you know.
Okay, that makes sense.
Generally speaking,
something else, I didn't look at it that way.
The other thing too about priority target, and you'll find this especially at the lower tiers, very helpful for if you're going to run battleships or something. If you're running priority target, you'll see if it goes from 1 detecting you down or targeting you down to 0, and then back up to 1 again, then that tells you that torpedoes are coming your way. Because
I knew that trick.
yeah. So that comes in really handy. Okay, Hindenburg is probably who I'd focus now, because these guys are both running away from you, and you're not going to be able to catch them going in reverse. So I would go forward and help the Kansas on the Hindenburg here.
So I feel like I reversed for a long time here. At some point, should have had to turn around and kind of went bow in.
Definitely. The time to have turned around and gone bow in is as soon as that Moskva is dead. Because really the only thing that was in range to hit you is the Conqueror, and he was way in the back of the map. So even if he shot at you, he's probably not going to hit you. He's a Conqueror, so he's most likely loading HE shells. So even if he does hit you with HE, it doesn't really matter. You know, like...
Right.
It's not a big deal. So that would have been the ideal time to turn, reverse your direction and go into a pushing stance. And that's why I think ultimately when the Hindenburg appeared through the channel, I would have just gone forward and joined up with the Kansas, because by the time you go forward and turn around, the Conqueror and the Iowa are long gone anyways. So it's not worth your time to chase after them.
Okay.
So I'm looking at the minimap. Hindenburg is now going into decap. So at this point, I would go straight into C. Looks like that's what you're doing. We don't know where the Chungmu is. I would expect the Chungmu to be somewhere kind of in front of the rest of his teammates. It's just luck chuck torps right up the channel. So your Hydro just went down, and now you're going into a channel with the Musashi and a Bismarck. So for the Chungmu, that's kind of like the promised land for targets, right? It's a target-rich environment, and now you're going to throw yourself in there too.
So should have I went the different direction around?
I would have gone to the right of these islands instead of between the islands in the channel. I would have gone to the left of them with my guns pointed to the left. So that if the Chungmu appeared in between your Minotaur Musashi, you could blap him, that sort of deal.
I think at this point I was focused on trying to get damage down here on these other ships. And
Oh, look,
it's bad on my part, actually.
Generally speaking, and this is a habit that you pick up with battleships, is that it takes so long to change the turrets around that the way your turrets are kind of informs your decision of where you're going to go and what you're going to look at. And since your turrets are to the right of you, then you by default went left so that you can keep more of the enemy in your gun arc. The only problem with that is it could potentially get you killed.
Yeah, okay.
Now, the Chungmu got detected. He made Inky. Got detected again, so now he's being charged by the Ostergotland, which means he's dead anyways. And we'll see in a few moments if he did manage to luck chuck some torpedoes at... never mind, the game's over.
Yeah, it ended.
But I anticipate in a couple minutes you would probably see torpedoes going through that channel there, so...
Okay, that's something I probably didn't take into account at the time. Like I said, I was focused on trying to get damage.
Right. Any other questions you want to ask about from what you saw? Anything you want more clarification on?
Yeah, I imagine there's a lot. I'm still trying to take it all in.
Yeah, there's a lot to this game, as you know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like my main thing is really, like I said at the beginning, I don't know, like, should I stay on my flank? Should I switch flanks? Like, you know, or should I just always try to hold a flank? I mean, I guess that's one of my biggest problems is at the beginning, making the decision of where I should go and what I should do.
Right.
And that, like I said, I was going slow to just trying to figure out where everything is and where I can position better. But, I mean, better players just kind of instinctually know where to go is what I've seen. And they just start heading that direction. Well,
the big thing is you want to play to the strengths of that ship. So the Hindenburg is a ship... Actually, you know what? I'll do this. The Hindenburg is a ship that... come on. There we go. Trying to break the camera free. The Hindenburg's a ship that is really good if the enemy is pushing it, but it's not really good at chasing. So generally speaking, with the Hindenburg at the start, you want to put yourself in a position where the enemy's going to push. On this particular map, because of the way it's set up, there's really two places the enemy pushes. They push at A or they push at D. Sometimes they'll be stupid and push up the channel, but that doesn't really do anything. So that's why I was saying before, generally speaking, I would start by sending my ship as far out to the flank as possible on this particular map. Other maps where you've got not a lot in the center, you want to stay in the center. At least in generally at the start. But Hindenburg, I mentioned at this island right here. This island is great because you can poke out right here. You can shell. From here, you can hit that Moskva spot. So you can just keep shooting that Moskva. You can shoot anything out to the south. If anything threatens you, you've got two choices. One is you can back up behind the island, although this flat area doesn't really protect your side that much. So the other option is you can move farther forward. And you can move up to this island. As you're moving forward, imagine, if you will, on the other side of this island, a battleship like the North Carolina or the Iowa. You keep him between, keep the island between you and him so he can't shoot back at you. All the while, you keep your guns firing to the left into where the Moskva's sitting. All right?
Oh, wow. Okay.
You get him out. You got to learn to think of the islands as a shield, right? You hold the shield up with your left hand, right? While you use your sword with the right. So the shield is meant to protect you from incoming damage, whichever direction it is. So if you were right here, for example, Iowa Bismarck can't shoot you. Kagero can try to torpedo you, and if you back up into the torps, that's on you, right? But the island obviously is going to block the torpedoes, which means the only thing that can shoot back at you is the Moskva. So if you sit here with your bow facing about this direction, maybe a little bit more like that, you are almost fully angled to the Moskva. All it can do is shoot HE at you while you get all four turrets back into the Moskva, set him on fire, chew up his 50mm armor. You get the idea.
I never even seen that. Like, I figured if I'd been there, I'm like overextended and going to die. But you showed me something especially seeing how the match played out. So,
yes. Yeah. It really depends a lot. You have to, and that's why keeping an eye on the minimap is very important. It really depends on what your destroyers are going to do. If both of your destroyers ran away from this section of the map, then there's no point in coming up to here. That would be suicide. But seeing a Shimakaze and an Ostergotland up going into A, screwing around, messing around in there, then that should give you the confidence to know you can go here. Now, let's say that these destroyers both got themselves killed, taking luck shocks or something. Well, then what you do is you move forward and you turn away from the battle and you start just going straight up the line here. So you start going straight up the one line and you turn your turrets back to your right, okay? And you fire off your right shoulder again at the Moskva or at any of the battleships that are chasing after you. You keep kiting away. You don't have to go full speed. You go half speed. You go, you play throttle games and slow down, speed up, that kind of deal. But you just make it so that if they want to push, they're pushing into your guns in addition to your battleships and whoever else is there. So they probably aren't going to want to do it.
Yeah, which is what I've seen Hindenburgs do, and it's just devastating. I've just never been able to do it, but I never understood the positioning of it. So
right. Now, slot 5, do you run the concealment module or do you use double rudder?
Concealment. I feel like I need the ability to disengage because I just don't feel like I'm good enough to be spotted that much. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yep. Now, I will say,
I feel like I need that safety blanket.
Sure. I will say that based off of your firing pattern, if you look up here, I've got a mod. This is called the Shot Timer mod. It's in Aslan's, and I'm pretty sure it's also in the WoW's mod pack, mod station, whatever. But it tells you how much time you're going to be detected from firing your firing bloom. Okay.
Yeah.
Very rarely have I seen that go away. Every time you fire, you bring that back up again. The point I'm getting at is that's kind of negating your concealment module bonus. The only thing that you get from the concealment module is that 5% increased dispersion from enemy battleships shooting at you. So it's going to be a little bit harder for them to hit you if they start aiming at you. So one thing I would say, if you have the credits to experiment, because I never recommend spending doubloons to demount modules, but if you've got the credits to experiment, consider dropping the concealment module for the rudder shift module, and then in slot 4, running either propulsion or the rudder module. I would personally probably run propulsion, although you could do either one. And what that does is that takes the Hindenburg and converts it into a relatively super maneuverable ship, where you can just turn the rudder and the ship will start moving, and you can make it dance.
Yeah.
Just if you're gonna do that, probably switch out your guns to range as well.
I'm happy to try it. Like, I'm here to learn. So
well, and
let's give it a shot.
It's one of the nice things about the Hindenburg is you've got the flexibility to try out different playstyles with it. It costs you a little bit of credits, but just play the game more and you get credits back, so it's not that big of a deal.
Right. Yeah, I'm willing to try it.
Cool. All right then. Well, SpewnDonkey, any other questions you have about this this replay?
I think we covered this one pretty well.
Cool.
So, I mean, I guess overall, how do you see me playing? Like, because I'm a bad player. I mean, I really am. And I just like, what are your thoughts on, like, what do you see that I could do better just
all right.
in general?
So I'm going to put myself in the position of, let's say, the North Carolina or somebody out there. I'm looking at you right now. So let's, come on, game, let's move. I'm looking at you from the North Carolina's positioning, all right, on the minimap. I see a Hindenburg that's firing its guns, but it's only firing its rear turrets, and it's just kind of sitting there. I'm not thinking you're a threat, because I'm looking at you, and I can see you here, but the icon doesn't show up, but that's you right there. And I'm saying to myself, this guy has a confidence issue because he's not getting all of his guns in. He's not really being that effective in his use of those guns, his positioning, that kind of stuff. So I'm thinking I can deal with you later. I'm thinking the Petropavlovsk is a bigger threat. I'm thinking that the Bismarck is a great opportunity for me because he's broadside to me right now. I'm thinking I have to watch out for the Musashi's guns because the Musashi will do terrible things to me if I'm showing broadside. And I'm thinking that there might be a destroyer or two that I have to deal with too. So, in other words, you've managed to become invisible, whether you realize it or not.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's great. I'm curious because, I mean, honestly, there are players that I look at and I see them the same way. Like, yeah, I'm not worried about them. I can take them. So, yeah, they're way worse than me, and that's very rare. But yeah. So, okay. Okay. I mean, I thank you for the input. I really do. I got to start somewhere. So
absolutely, play the ship. Practice it. Don't feel afraid. Like I said, we said before to mess around with your upgrades and see what you can come up with. If you feel like you want to try resetting your captain skills and trying something else there, you can also do that. But this game is all about experimentation and finding what works for you.
I mean, do you got a recommended build for the ship that you would run?
Yeah. Let me. I have to kill it. That's right. I'll kill it. I'll go into the game myself. It's gonna take a minute to load.
Okay.
And I'm gonna put the Hindenburg replay in the done file so I don't accidentally play it on stream. While this is loading up, just a reminder, you do get a replay prioritization. So like this Sunday, if there's another replay you want me to play on stream, make sure you let me know that's what you want to use for your Patreon tier 1. That's not a problem. Okay. I'm not sure what's going on with my guys and clan battles, so I want to keep an eye on that situation. So I can...
yeah, like you guys need so much help.
No, I want to make sure we run. So, by the way, hi, Sid Kitten. I want to make sure that we can get games going. So if there's like 5 or 6 right now, like I'm thinking to myself, okay, I need to finish this recording so I can, go get games going with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't let me hold you up.
Nope, we're good. I just took a look. So, there's other benefits you have. There's the ride along on stream, which we can, try doing at some point. But basically, that would be where you stream your game live on Discord. I'll capture that, put that up on the stream, and then we'll all kind of watch your game, and I'll ask you questions live as you're playing. And then you can ask me questions too as it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like that would help.
Yep, absolutely. And then the other thing would be a gaming session. So that could be where I could join you for a few games. Either I play them alongside you, or if you would rather, kind of like what I just described, we do that off stream. That's fine too. Whichever you think is going to help you the most. Okay, where's Hindenburg? Hindenburg. There you are. How many points is your captain?
I think he is 19. I can read the game real quick.
No, that's fine. If ballpark is fine, it's not a problem.
He's 19 or 20.
Okay. Remember. So what I have on my Hindenburg is upgrades. I use my spotting aircraft quite a bit. You barely used it, so I don't know that it's good for you. But for me, this is nice.
I don't mind using it. I just have to get better with the aiming, and
sure.
That's what I'm working on.
Yep. So this module is nice because it gives me some extra range and extra uptime for that range, which comes in really handy. I use engine room protection on the Hindenburg because the last thing I want to do is lose my engines in a cruiser.
Really?
Yeah. What do you run? Damage control?
Yeah, damage control.
A lot of people do that.
When I first started, people said engine room protection is trash, and I've never really looked any further than that. So
got it. To me personally, this is something that will protect you from HE spamming ships,
right.
or maybe destroyer torpedoes. But if you're playing mostly in the backfield in this, you're probably not going to be taking a lot of torpedoes. So really, it's the fire that you think about.
So the engine room protection, do I understand it right, that lessens your chances of becoming disabled with the rudder in the engine? Is that?
Yep.
Or is it quicker repairs also?
Both of those. So if you do lose them and you don't have a DCP available, then they come up quicker. So to me, that's why this is a big deal for cruisers, especially Japanese cruisers, Russian cruisers. If you lose your rudder and your DCP is not available, you become just basically an open target. So generally speaking, I prefer engine room protection. Aiming systems modification 1 is really good because you're firing your main guns all the time, so you might as well make sure that they're more accurate. The others don't really help you much unless you want to be a brawling Hindenburg. You can do that, but
I think I actually have the turret one in there, but
okay.
I can't remember. I'd have to change it.
Thinking back to your game, you rarely flipped your turrets at all from one side to the other, so this modification is not going to help you much at all. This is good for close range. A destroyer shows up to your side and you want to get those turrets turned as quickly as possible. Other than that, you're probably not going to benefit much from them at all.
Yeah.
So you see I've got propulsion here. This is really nice for if you play speed juking games. So if you know people are targeting you, you slow down instead of turning, and then you speed up after they fire one salvo and realize that you slow down. You wait for them to fire that second salvo, and then you speed up and you laugh because you just juked both of their shots and wasted about a minute of their time if they're battleships.
Right. Very annoying for a battleship.
Yes. Alternately, you could go for steering gears. I put on the, just to be an even bigger jerk, I put on the legendary module for Hindenburg. Totally not needed, but it's hilarious because of the fact that if you put me on fire, I really don't care. You put me on flood, I also really don't care. So it's kind of funny. But if I were to switch this out to steering gears mod 2, actually, can I? Yeah. If I switch this to steering gears mod 2, look at the rudder shift time. It just dropped to 7.3 seconds.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's speedy. That allows you to really wiggle versus if you just run the concealment mod, 12.1. That's huge. 5 seconds. 5 seconds. Now, if the rudder is hard over one side and then you flip to the other, it'll probably take you about 12 seconds when you've got the steering gears mod. Because this number is from 0 to full, not from full to full. Okay, so you kind of double it in your mind. So it takes 14.6 to go from hard left to hard right, or vice versa.
Right.
And then you can see here I've got gunfire mod because that gives me 20 kilometers of range. If I put up the plane, that gives me an additional 20% range. So now I'm firing at 23, 24 kilometers. No way in hell are people going to be able to shoot me.
Right.
Commander build. I'm not going to go in. I'll show you how I would build it, but I'm not going to spec it up.
Right.
I'm not going to master the skills. But for slot 1, you've got two choices. Personally, I'd probably go with grease the gears because it does help your turret traverse by a decent chunk, about 3 seconds. You could also do last stand if you wanted to run the damage control modification instead of the engine modification in slot, what is that, 2? You could take last stand instead, and then you don't worry about engine and rudder being knocked out as often. For the second point, I would run priority target. Third, because you are a cruiser that's got a heal, I would definitely go superintendent. Everything else is gravy on that. Now, here's where you've got some choices. If you're comfortable being shot at long range and you want to be one of those people that sits in the back and just spam shells, then you can do what we call the Lighthouse Build. And the Lighthouse Build means you do not spec concealment. Instead, you spec top grade gunner and heavy HE and SAP shells. This skill increases the damage of your HE shells by 10%. However, it decreases your concealment. So now your concealment, you are spotted at 18 kilometers. Which is very different from the way you've been playing. Well, it's about the same, actually, quite frankly. But what that means is that your guns do more damage. Personally, I would hold off on that for you. I would spec something like this to start, and then decide for yourself. Do I want the concealment for the added flexibility, like you were talking about, or do I want to try the Lighthouse Build to get my guns, get my guns heard more often? Top grade gunner is a definite grab. It's a 8% bonus to your reload if anything is within your detection range. So, that's really nice. That gives you a buff. Adrenaline rush is okay. I don't know that I would necessarily grab it. I mean, it's always handy to have, and it might be better for you to have over heavy HE and SAP. Totally up to you.
Yeah. Okay.
If I were to do this myself, I would grab it like this, and then I would also grab Expert A Anti-Air Marksman because this is a huge bonus to your anti-air capabilities. Your damage from shell explosions goes up because you get one more salvo, and then it says here priority sector is activated. Your anti-air damage, if you use priority sector, goes up by 25%. So this is a really nice buff if you have to deal with carriers at all. So.
Okay.
And then I would probably save the last 3 points. So I wouldn't spec the 19th point. I would keep it, and I would probably wait until I got to 21. And when I got to 21, I would probably go with Survivability Expert, or if you like to use AP, but Hindenburg's AP is not that great. So you see where I'm going with this? I would probably spec in a Survivability Expert to give you that extra oomph when it comes to your hit points. You can be shot at more often, you can heal it more because you've got the superintendent, and that just makes you a bigger pain in the butt on the battlefield.
Okay. Honestly, I would have never thought to put survivability expert on.
A lot of people don't. A lot of people judge people that have survivability expert on cruisers and battleships, but to be quite honest, this is dead last, right? This is what you do for your last 3 points. So you're not using it as a crutch at the beginning. So this just further enhances your ability to stay on the battlefield and be a pain in the butt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alternately, you could do consumable enhancements, although no, I wouldn't use that. Is it this one?
That's the Hydro. Is that the one? I think I ran that on there one time, but I don't.
It doesn't really help you, yeah. This one could work. Oh, I still don't think I would use it unless you're using defensive anti-air fire. So, yeah, I would probably just go with that, with survivability. But, play around with it, see what works for you or what you enjoy using.
So I guess I've heard the Hindenburg is meant to play longer range at the beginning and then can move in later when there's less ships. And that's kind of like, it looks like what the build you're showing me is kind of for. Is that
Yep.
what I'm getting out of this? Okay.
Yep.
So I guess I was always keeping the concealment expert so I could try to get closer at the beginning if the chance. But I see where you're going with this, I think.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice build. If you find yourself needing to switch to AP a lot, then there's that as an option too. If you wanted to take concealment, you could do this, and I personally I would go last stand over incoming fire, but I mean it's up to you. But
yeah,
you know, this might be a more balanced cruiser build for you. You know, if you find that you don't like being shot at early on. But honestly, I think learning how to get shot at early on and not die early on is an important skill, and if taking that off helps you do just that, then I think that's great.
Yeah. Okay.
So
that's something I'll have to play with.
Yeah, it's worth a try. Always. All right, well, SpewnDonkey, thank you very much for sending in the replay. Thank you for your support on Patreon. Do you have any other questions at all, or?
I think we covered a lot. I need to try to let this sink in and play around with it. I'm sure I've got a million more, but you can never answer them all in one session.
Yeah, that gets kind of tough. So, you know, take your time. Yeah. This video is going to go up on YouTube, so you can watch it at your leisure. You can send it to your friends if you want, or whatever. You know, and then be thinking about, like what I was talking about, you know, the opportunities for other stuff moving along in the future, okay?
Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate it.
You're welcome, man. All right. I'm going to stop recording now, okay?
Okay.
All right, here we go.